Today we are going to be looking at Mark Antony's funeral speech from Act 3 of Julius Caesar. Mark Antony is about to deliver the speech after Brutus has successfully delivered his. Brutus's goal was to convince the citizens of Rome that the conspirators were right in killing Caesar and that Caesar deserved to die. Brutus was successful in accomplishing this goal and convincing them. He might have done it in a very backhanded way by not allowing the Roman people to talk, because if they had talked, they would have admitted that they hated their country, they were not true Romans, and that they would want to be slaves to Caesar. So Mark Antony has a very tough task of now convincing the Roman people, because if he comes in guns blazing, the conspirators and the Roman people will turn against him. So he needs to be very subtle in what he says and how he delivers his speech. So he starts out right away. Friends, Roman countrymen, lend me your ears. This should sound familiar to you, because if you look at Brutus's speech, Romans, countrymen, and lovers, hear me. The difference being that Brutus started with Romans. So right away, he's establishing that he believes he's above the Roman people, because his first thought is that they are citizens. They are below him. So by saying Romans, countrymen, and then lovers, he's saying they are friends last, citizens first. Whereas Mark Antony starts out by saying friends, Romans, countrymen. So he views them as his friends or his equals. Right away, he's establishing a connection with them. I come to bury Caesar, not to praise him. The evil that men do lives after them. The good is often interred with their bones. Often interred means often buried. So see, Mark Antony says, I'm here to bury Caesar, not to praise him. We know that's not true. We know he's going to be trying to praise him. He's just going to do it in a subtle way. The evil that men do lives after them. The good is often interred with their bones. So the good is buried with the men. We don't remember the good about people, rather, we remember the evil. Now, on surface level, it would appear that he's talking about Julius Caesar. Julius Caesar's being buried, the good things that he's done is being buried with him. His evil will live after him. But because you are all very smart, intelligent people, you know that this is a dig at the conspirators. When the conspirators are buried, when the conspirators die, we will remember them for the evil they've committed, such as killing Caesar, versus the good that they have done. So, let it be with Caesar. The noble Brutus hath told you Caesar was ambitious. If it were so, it were a grievous fault. So this word if right here is a very, very powerful word. It's very short, but those two words, those two letters, cast a shadow of doubt. The noble Brutus hath told you Caesar was ambitious. We know that ambitious means power hungry, and so in this case, ambitious is bad. And Mark Antony is acknowledging that, but he oh so sneakily says, if it were so. And the Romans would have caught that. If Caesar were ambitious, it were a grievous fault. It would be a negative fault. But only if he was, because remember, Mark Antony doesn't think Caesar was ambitious or power hungry. He thinks he was a great leader. So right there, he's starting to cast that small shadow of the doubt. And while we may not have caught it, or may not be obvious, the Roman people would have. So it was a grievous fault, and grievously has Caesar answered for it with his life. Here, under leave of Brutus and the rest being the conspirators, so here, under leave being with their permission, for Brutus is an honorable man. So they are all honorable men. So you've noticed now, I hope, that we've said honorable twice. One describing Brutus, one second time describing the conspirators. Keep track of how many times honorable is said used to describe this man, the conspirators and Brutus. It's really important that you keep track of it and see why would Mark Antony keep using that word over and over. Come I to speak in Caesar's funeral. He was my friend, faithful and just to me. But Brutus says he was ambitious, and Brutus is an honorable man. There's a third time we've used honorable. So come I to speak in Caesar's funeral. He was my friend, faithful and just meaning fair. He hath brought many captives to Rome, whose ransoms did the general coffers fill. Did this in Caesar seem ambitious? So he being Caesar, brought many captives home to Rome. So Caesar would bring many enemies of state, many captives of war home to Rome, whose ransoms, so then he would collect money to get them, he would collect money from their cities or countries to send them back home, whose ransoms did the general coffers fill. General being public, and coffers being the bank or the treasury. So Caesar would then take this money and put it in the bank or the treasury that would then benefit the town, benefit the people, benefit the city. Caesar wasn't keeping the money for himself, rather he was giving it back to the town. That doesn't seem like such a bad thing to Mark Antony, nor does it seem like a bad thing to the townspeople. Did this in Caesar seem ambitious? This is really power hungry. When the poor have cried, Caesar hath wept. Maybe not literally, but figuratively, Caesar was being empathetic with the poorer people, with the townspeople. A good leader has empathy. A good leader feels for their townspeople. Ambition should be made of sterner stuff. So if Caesar was really power hungry, would he really be sympathizing? Would he really be empathizing? No, he probably would be saying, good riddance, let him suffer. Yet, Brutus says he was ambitious, and Brutus is an honorable man. There's that honorable word again. Have you caught what he's trying to do yet? You all did see that on Lupercal I thrice presented him a kingly crown, which he did thrice refuse. Was this ambition? I literally offered him the crown 3 times. He rejected it 3 times. Why would someone reject being offered power unless they didn't really want it? So Mark Antony is implying the only reason Julius Caesar accepted the crown is because the people were begging for him to do so. Now, here it's important to acknowledge that obviously Mark Antony is going to be biased to Caesar. Yet, Brutus says he was ambitious, and sure, he is an honorable man. There it is again, honorable. Mark Antony keeps saying this word honorable over and over in hopes that by repeating it, it's beginning to lose its meaning. Because Mark Antony doesn't believe that Brutus is honorable. He believes that Brutus and the conspirators are terrible people. And so he's saying it over and over in hopes that the townspeople will catch that he doesn't mean it, that he's using it sarcastically. I speak not to disprove what Brutus spoke, but here I am to speak what I do know. You all did love him once, not without cause. What cause withholds you then to mourn for him? You all love Caesar. You had reason to. So why aren't you mourning? What is causing you to not feel sympathy? What is causing you to not care about him? What is causing you to not show your empathy and sadness? You all loved him. Why aren't you acting like it? Think of all of your reasons that you had. So here he's really starting to drive and be personal to him. He's really now starting to come out and say what he really wants to say. He has got the audience riled up so he can start to come out with his straight message as opposed to having to be subtle like he was earlier in the speech. O judgment, thou art fled to brutish beasts. Your judgment has fled like wild animals. And men have lost their reason. Bear with me. Now he's straight up saying, you guys have lost your minds, your judgment. Why aren't you thinking? My heart is in the coffin there with Caesar, and I must pause till it come back to me. So now he's straight up saying, my heart is with Caesar. I am in that coffin with Caesar. I am with Caesar. I support him. And I must wait until my sorrow and my sympathy come back to me. I must wait until I have recovered. He has demonstrated a lot of emotion. He's demonstrated a lot of rhetorical strategies to convince people that Caesar shouldn't have died. And he did a really good job of it. Everything that Brutus says, he was able to disprove it, and he was able to present his own empathetic view of it. So Mark Antony was successful in convincing the Romans that Brutus and the conspirators were wrong.